morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time is where you are. Today we are going to be replacing the fuel filter on this beast, which is my 1997 Volvo 940 Turbo wagon, which I love. Shout out to Marty Moog. The reason I'm doing this is because I have no idea when it was last done, so I'm just going to put a new one in as a matter of course, and it lives under there somewhere. But before we do that, I need to locate the fuel pump relay fuse and pull it to depressurize the system, because as much as I like wearing fuel all over my face, I don't really fancy it today, and I believe it is somewhere in here, one of those. So I'm going to figure out which one it is, pull it out, and then we're just going to crank the engine over, let it run, and then let it die, and that will get rid of any pressure in the system. So let's go and do that. Turns out there's a diagram on the back of this. Bingo. Tells you what all the fuses are and what they do, and we've got here fuel pump number 11, 15 amp, which is there. So let's pull that one out. If I can get my bloody fingers in there. Come on. Okay. Now we're just going to start the car and let it run until it dies. Fuck you. There we go. Easy. I'm also going to undo the petrol cap, just in case there's any residual pressure sitting in there. Lovely. So now we can get on to jacking her up and get underneath. Okay, so here's the fuel filter underneath the car in this cradle here, and it turns out, I've just taken the cap off, but it turns out this car has actually got a pressure relief valve there, so I could have just used that instead of pissing around with the fuel pump fuse, but you live and learn. So to get this bracket off, there's two 13mm bolts there and another 13mm bolt here, so we're going to undo those three after I've given them a little bit of squirt with Old Faithful, and then we'll have access to the filter. Okay, the cradle's free now, so I'm just going to undo this 10mm bolt here, and that will release the filter from that housing. She's free! So I just need to undo this banjo bolt here, which is a 17mm, and then this nut here, which is a 19. Get yourself a catch can, anything will do. Bolts in the tomatoes to catch any spillage if there is any. There shouldn't be much though, only just what's in the filter because we've depressurised. So let's get those bolts off and we can get this old filter out. Okay, we just cracked that banjo bolt on the end of the filter, and we're just letting the fuel drain out. Once that's stopped, we can undo that side and then move on to getting that one off. The old filter is liberated from the car. This arrow here is the flow of the fuel, and that goes towards the front of the car, but it doesn't really matter because well, it does matter, but you can't really get it wrong because the threads on either side are different, so you've got to be doing something pretty special to get this the wrong way. New filter, looks exactly the same, which is good. I went for genuine Volvo just because, for the sake of a couple of quid, why not? Peace of mind and all that. This is the feel that came out of the filter. Doesn't look too bad, but it's not clean by any stretch. So this was probably due a replacement. Now don't forget to replace the copper O-rings on each side of the new filter. This is the banjo bolt. It's got two fittings. The banjo goes across here, and then there's a one of the washers goes this side, and that washer is still attached to the bolt, so I'll take that off. and I'll replace it with these, and then on the other side there's just the one washer to go on. So these are the part numbers should you need them: 947621 and 947282. So we're going to now put this new one back on the car with new washers and tighten everything up. Okay, new filter's in, but before I put all the gubbins back on the cage and do it all back up, I'm just going to put the fuel pump fuse back in and start the car and get some fuel going through, just so I can test or check that there's no leaks coming from either side. And you can see there the two copper washers either side of the banjo, one there, and this side is just the one that sits in there. So let's get the car back running and we'll see if there's any leaks. Car is running with 0 leaks, which is good. That is just WD-40 from when I was undoing the bolt. That's not fuel. I will check it again in a couple of days just to see, but I think we're all good. So time to put this bracket back on. New filter installed, leak free, gauge is back on, everything's done up. Like I say, I'll check it again in a few days just to make sure, but we'll call that done. I might cut this open just to see what it's like on the inside, with a hacksaw, obviously no power tools, but in the meantime, oh yeah! Well, I think it was definitely due. That's the old filter and it's absolutely filthy. So yeah, well worth the effort, I think. Good job.